But yeah, let's move into the match preview. Massive, massive game under the lights. And I really hope the fans are going to be up for this one because we're going to need that 12th man going into this game. We know sometimes the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium can be a bit quiet, but I think in nights like these, you can trust that that stadium is going to be rocking, can't you? It's going to be a cauldron. The Spurs fans know how much this means. The Spurs fans just dying for a trophy. And this is our best route to a trophy this season. Already in the quarterfinals, you go and beat Manchester United. The other quarterfinals, as it stands, are tonight actually, and let's just bring it up quickly. So you got Liverpool against Southampton. You got Arsenal against Crystal Palace, and who's the other one?
Brentford, Newcastle.
So I mean, we were speaking about it. I never like speaking about this kind of thing before the fact, particularly before Spurs play, but if a few results go our way, you know, a lot of the big teams will probably rest a couple of players tonight. You're looking at a real big opportunity for Spurs if we can get over the line.
Obviously, if it's the favourites, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle could easily all go through, and all of a sudden, even if you win tomorrow, you know, you're looking at that lineup and thinking it's still going to be very, very difficult even to get to the final. But if one of, you know, Palace or Southampton or Brentford can spring a surprise, all of a sudden, you know, we win tomorrow and we could be playing one of Palace or Brentford or Southampton in a semi-final with a view of getting to a final, which would be a really good opportunity. So look, don't want to get ahead of yourselves. You just have to win. We have to focus on winning tomorrow. But obviously, we'll definitely have a keen eye on tonight to see how the results go, because if any surprises have been sprung, hopefully it'll just add more motivation for us going into tomorrow.
It's hard to read too much into the form of particularly Man United because they've just got Ruben Amorim. He's just like feeling his way into the job, doesn't really know his best 11 as of yet. But I think he's had an okay start to life, you know, 3 wins and 2 losses in the last 5 games. I think he's only taken charge of 3 of those games, I believe. This was it, 3rd game?
Fourth. This will be his 5th game, I think.
Yeah, so this will be his 5th game. Massive win against Manchester City last time out, turned the game around. But the way I've seen Manchester United so far under Ruben Amorim is like, they're fairly solid defensively if they're not making mistakes at the back. And they're kind of not that great going forward.
This will be his 8th game.
Oh, his 8th game.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were all under Ruben Amorim those games. But they are a bit blunt going forward. I think he's just trying to solidify that defence first and foremost. But they do have an Amad Diallo, who's, I think, been their best player this season. You're looking at their best 2 players this season. It's probably been Amad Diallo and Nordin Mazraoui. Mazraoui is a doubt coming into this game, which could be a benefit for us. But I am worried about coming up against Amad Diallo in this game. But how do you kind of assess Manchester United under Ruben Amorim so far?
I think it's been decent. Obviously, they've had some really poor performances. You know, they lost to Nottingham Forest at home. I thought against Arsenal they defended well, but they were never really in the game. Apart from obviously Arsenal scoring from set pieces, but they never really threatened Arsenal too much. I thought.
Do you not think though, like in that Nottingham Forest game, like in terms of the performance level, they probably deserve more out of the game?
Not particularly. I thought they defended really poorly in that game. So, I mean, and also I thought, especially at 3-1, they got it back to 3-2, and they didn't really create anything after that moment. So, I don't come away with it thinking they were really unlucky. Like I think they conceded some really poor goals. They didn't create that much. So I don't think it was a great performance. I don't think they were terrible, but especially before conceding going down 3-1, they weren't bad. But you look at the manner of the goals they conceded; it was really, really poor. Really poor defending. So I don't see that as a game that they were unlucky in.
I just felt like the performance was actually all right. If you take, obviously the defensive mishaps and Onana put a bit of a clanger in that game as well. But I'm looking past those kind of mistakes, and I'm talking about like a general performance level over the course of the game. And I just felt like that performance against Nottingham Forest's level of performance probably deserved more than a lot. Maybe a draw was probably a fair result.
I don't know, maybe. I didn't come away with it feeling. I didn't feel like they were terrible and it should have been a drubbing, but I didn't come away with it feeling they were super unlucky and they really unlucky not to get anything. I didn't feel like that anyway. I thought games against the Victoria Pilsen game, obviously another defensive mishap, put them 1-0 down, and then they ended up turning it around late on. I thought on the weekend they were not great for about 70 minutes. I thought they were, as much as City were terrible, United didn't really look like offering much, to be honest. And 20 minutes to go, they did give it a real good go, and I think fair enough, they probably deserved something out of the game for how they finished the game. But for large parts of that game, they were also just as much out of the game as I felt Man City were, and it was a really poor game of football, I thought, for a lot of that game. But, that late turnaround, you can't say they didn't deserve to at least get one goal, because they were definitely creating chances late in that game. Diallo forced a save out of Ederson. Bruno had a one-on-one, which he lobbed the keeper and put it wide where he should have scored. But they also got a huge slice of luck. That penalty was nothing to do with anything United did. It was just an absolute brain fart from Núñez. And so they got lucky with that moment. But the winning goal was a moment of quality from Ahmad, albeit, again, Man City will definitely be feeling like they should have stopped that goal. But it was a moment of brilliance. And from Man United's point of view, Ahmad had a brilliant game, and he was causing, obviously he won the penalty, and he was causing Man City problems all day. He was probably the only one that was doing that. And that goal was good reward for what was a brilliant performance, and the piece of skill to lob the keeper on the stretch like he did and then volley it home was absolutely fantastic, and just shows the quality that he does have. And obviously he's a kid who's been on loan for a bit since he's come to United. He's talked about him. He was brilliant at Sunderland. Was it last year or 2 years ago? And
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. And then last season, I thought late in the season he was playing really well when he came into the team, but Ten Hag, for some reason, didn't trust him enough. And I thought this season as well, he should have had more game time from what I was seeing from him. And since Amorim's come in, he's played at wing back, he's played in the front three, and whatever role he's asked to do, he's been brilliant, and he's really done a good job. So he's obviously one to watch out for tomorrow, because he's in confident mood, and he's obviously one who scored the winner on the weekend, and he'll be thinking, I can take this form into the game on Thursday. And if he does start, I know Amorim's been changing the team a lot, but if he does start, he's one who's going to be a massive threat.
Yeah, Amorim, I think the one game he didn't start Ahmad was the Arsenal game, and he came on in the second half, and he was actually the only one to get the ball and start asking questions of that that Arsenal defence. He started running at them, causing a few problems, but obviously, nothing came from it. But at least he was asking questions, and I've been like I said before, I've been so impressed with him, and he's the one player that Man U have that really worry me coming into this game, because he's a player that will commit your defenders. He's the one that will just run at you, and we know like sometimes our defenders aren't the best at their one-on-one defending. And if he was coming up against let's say he comes up against a doggy on that side, if a doggy does start, like a doggy, not 100% fit a doggy, his one-on-one defending hasn't been great this season, so that's a clear avenue where they can get us. Particularly, they're going to go five at the back as well, and we've struggled massively against five at the back teams.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is if they're with the wing-back system, those two number 10s, either they find space or the wing-backs are going to find space. It's kind of like pick your poison at the moment. And the way we play, it's actually more likely the wing-backs are going to find space, because we play very, very narrow. And it means that maybe Ahmad won't be getting as much space as he has in other games. But it also means that the likes of Dalot and whoever they play left-back, maybe Malacia, might be getting a lot more space out wide.
But you know what? If Mazraoui is out, I think if Ruben is clever, he plays Ahmad at wing-back.
Potentially, but then, does that leave too much? I think I wouldn't mind that. Because
I think he can have such an influence on the game if he does that.
But then as well, is he going to be doing the defending for Son? Is he going to be tracking back? Is that going to give Son too much space? But
they do have the insurance policy of three at the back.
I know, but if you asked Ange, who would he rather have at wing-back, Ahmad or Dalot? Because if they play Dalot there, all of a sudden when they're defending, it kind of turns into a bit of a 5, and it turns a lot harder to break down. Whereas if they got Ahmad there, he's going to be always looking forward. And look, that could mean we could be hurt more going forward, but it also means there's going to be more space for our forwards as well. So I think if you asked Ange, who would he rather play there, I reckon he would rather Diallo plays there.
Potentially, but I do think like if Ahmad plays wing back, they will hurt us more going the other way. As much as they've not been great, their XG doesn't make for good reading since Ruben Amorim has come in, but I think that will increase if Ahmad does play wing back. And I think if he, from a defensive point of view, it won't be as strong, but they do have that insurance policy of playing three at the back. So I still think the way Ruben sets up the team, Dalot or Diallo, it'll still be fairly strong at the back for them.
Yeah, I mean, either way, he's
got the energy levels to get up and down.
Diallo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how good he is defensively. He's been filling in at wing back and he's done well. We've seen.
What was that game he played at wing back? Because I thought he was brilliant that day.
Was it a Europa League game or no? It was Everton.
Everton, that was it.
But that game as well. I mean, if you watch back that game, I know they won 4-0, but I don't think that game reflected how it really went. I think it was a lot closer than the scoreline suggested. To answer the first question you answered, how do I assess Amorim under United? They're clearly a work in progress. I think that's clear. I don't think they're playing amazing at the moment. I think he's stabilised it a bit, and they're clearly learning the system. And there's clearly at the moment things they're still not 100% on, and that was always going to happen after 8 games, especially coming in mid-season when they've had no pre-season. There's always going to be trying to work it out, and I think Tottenham could take advantage of the fact that they're still so early in that process and they haven't quite worked out how to fully work the system. But they showed on the weekend that they're still capable of getting a result away at a good team, and they showed as well against Everton, even though they didn't play amazingly, I felt they're still capable of scoring goals with the players they got. But I think Tottenham should come into this game not fearing them, but asking questions of Man United, and that's what they're going to do. We know that Tottenham are going to go for it. We know that Tottenham are going to go into this game not worried about what Man United will do to us, but more asking questions of Man United, and they should be worried about what we're going to do to them. And that's the approach that we are going to do. I think it's probably the right approach, because are Man United fully there yet? Probably not. And should we try and take advantage of as much of the uncertainty as possible? We probably should. And we need to go full force. We need to get in their faces, start the games like we did against Chelsea and Southampton, pressing from the front, making sure we're being aggressive, and unsettle them. And if you can unsettle them and get an early goal, are they the team like a Chelsea or even a Brighton who are going to be completely cutting you open if you give them the space? We haven't seen that yet, just yet anyway. Maybe they'll show it tomorrow, but if we can have an early start, I don't know if Man United will be able to turn it around. Yeah,
I kind of agree with that. And Southampton, we got 2 goals in the opening. Well, we got 4 goals in the opening. What was it?
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
There's 2 games in a row in the Premier League anyway. We've scored twice in 12 minutes.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And if we can do that, I agree with you, because I feel like you've got Ahmad there, but apart from Ahmad, is there and Bruno obviously, is there? If Bruno's playing to the top of his capabilities, which is not every week, is there too much to be that worried about? Yes, we're going to have a makeshift back 4 out there with Archie Gray and Radu, and obviously, as we mentioned in the predicted lineup, this is Archie Gray's biggest test. And is he going to sink? Is he going to swim? I think it might be a bit nervy maybe early on for Archie, but as we know, that can be the case with him, and he does kind of raise his level throughout the game. So am I worried with having a makeshift back 4 against what United can throw at us? I'm not that worried about in that aspect, because I'm looking at Man U and I'm looking at the way they attack at the moment, and they don't seem to have that many avenues of attack. And if we can somehow keep Amad Diallo quiet, I don't really think they'll have much else.
I agree. I think Højlund's actually been scoring a few goals, but he's not he's not a bad player. I think his hold-up play is decent, but he's not someone where you feel like give him one chance he can score a goal. I think he needs a bit more space. He's very strong centre forward, but he's not the fastest forward. The one thing I'm a bit worried about is, with all the talk of Rashford and Garnacho, over the last few days, if he puts them in with a point to prove, those are 2 players that could really hurt us, because they're pacey. When they're electric and energetic, they can hurt really good teams. I've seen them ask a lot of good teams questions when they're at their best, both those players. So, and they're the kind of players which we kind of struggle against. Those players who are very, very good in transition, very quick, very direct, and Rashford especially has a dynamite finish when you give him a chance.
Yeah.
So I am slightly worried that there's a lot of talk about those 2 at the moment, especially Rashford as well, him leaving and all that kind of stuff. And if kind of Amorim springs a surprise and puts them in with a point to prove, and everyone's already talking about Rashford leaving and stuff like that, and Garnacho, no one's even mentioned him after he got left out of the squad on Sunday. And I feel like if they're coming in as a surprise selection, that could be something I'm a bit more worried about. Yeah,
it's an interesting one with Rashford, isn't it? Because he comes out with an interview in Henry Windsor saying, yeah, I think I need a new challenge and all this kind of stuff. And then Amorim kind of responds to that in his press conference being like, yeah, you need a new challenge, but the new challenge is here. I just came, and it's a big, important challenge. And he's also like, yes, Man United are a better team with Rashford in it, and all this kind of stuff. Like, where do you think that leaves Rashford? Is he gonna push for a move? Is he gonna leave in January? Is he gonna wait till the end of the season? Is he gonna leave then? And then there's another question, like with the wages that he's on, what, 350 grand a week, and his contract ain't up until 2028, the summer of 2028. Where can he go? I mean, there's rumours in the press that PSG don't want him. Barcelona apparently want him, but don't want to pay his wages. There's always the Saudi option there. I mean, where does that leave Marcus Rashford? Would you take him here on a short-term loan?
That's completely up in the air. Would I take him on a short-term loan? Yeah, I probably would, to be honest. Or for 6 months, I don't think we would lose much. I think
can't do worse than Werner.
Exactly. I mean, he can be an option for Timo Werner. Can sometimes play up front as well if we need him to be. If a forward of the quality of Rashford becomes available, obviously, I think, and he's English as well. He's in his peak years. We've seen in the Premier League what he's capable of. If he wants to come here for 6 months, I think I would take it. Would I sign him permanently? Is that something the club would do with the wage he's on? Would he even come here? Those questions, probably not. I would say it's an unlikely transfer to ever materialise. I don't think he's ever gonna see him in a Tottenham shirt. But if it was ever an option and it was something that was in the works and that was something that could be a possibility, I think I would do it. I think he actually profiles very similar to someone like Son in terms of on that left-hand side, very good finisher, can cause problems when he's restricted of space. He's not the kind of player who's really good at dribbling in tight spaces or anything like that. But in transition, he's deadly, absolutely deadly. Can be a bit two-footed as well. He's got absolute hammer of a shot, such power in that right foot. So I think any club that gets him, if they're getting a refreshed Rashford that's got a fresh mind and looking for something new, I think there's still a very good player in there. Now, for one reason or another, over the past couple of years, it's gone wrong for him at Man United, and I don't know if he's fallen out with managers or he doesn't believe in the sporting project or the pressure of being that Man United star boy, where he's getting so much criticism from people who he wants to love him essentially as a Man United fan, and all these different things. Maybe the external pressure of being the main man at Man United has grown to be too much for him, and he just wants something new. Or maybe he's just an ambitious player who wants to be challenging right at the top, and he's been disillusioned with where Man United are going. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Whatever it is, everyone knows that a Rashford who's at his best on his game and his mind is right is an extremely good player, extremely exciting player. So if Tottenham were to convince him to come here, I'd probably be open to it, especially on a loan, because you don't really lose much and we're lacking options in the front line right now. But it's a fanciful thinking, I think. I don't think it's ever going to be something, unless United are willing to pay half his wages or something. I don't think that ever happens.
First of all, what you're saying about Rashford, I think the Marcus Rashford thing, this has followed him around his whole career so far in Manchester United, when you're talking about in terms of inconsistencies. I think when you actually look at it, I think he's only had about probably 2 top seasons for Manchester United. The guy's 27 years of age now, and you're talking about many managers that have come in. They seem to get an initial tune out of him, and then he goes off the boil. I think when you're looking at Rashford and can he fit the Spurs system, whenever I watch him, particularly in the last couple of years, he just frustrates the hell out of me. I feel like he's lazy on the pitch. He doesn't do the pressing required. And if he doesn't do the pressing required, is he ever going to fit into a Spurs team? I don't think so. So would I take him on a loan from now to the end of the season just to beef up the numbers? Yes. Would I consider, if Spurs could ever stump up some wages, or if they could get subsidised wages, would I ever consider him on a long-term thing? And even if he does do the business from now to the end of the season, probably not, because I feel like he will revert to type. And what type is for me? I think he's had more bad seasons than good seasons for Manchester United at the age of 27 right now. So I'm not a big fan of Marcus Rashford, albeit on his day he can be brilliant. That's the reality. But
we've seen players at Man United, very good players who just haven't had, for some one reason or other, especially since Fergie left, just they've brought in lots of good players that haven't worked out, and they've gone and left clubs and done a lot better. And maybe it's the environment of Man United that's, not really conducive to top players keeping the top of their game or whatever. I don't know what the problem is at the moment, but Rashford is capable of scoring lots and lots of goals. We've seen that. And it's not just 2 seasons. I can see here there's many seasons where he's gotten at least double figures in goals or over 20 goal contributions.
I'm talking about proper good seasons. How many times has he scored over like 15 goals?
League goals twice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but goals and assists. Like, he's a winger. He's not always been playing up front.
Has he ever got into double figures of assists?
No. But he's got quite a good number of assists. There's 3, I can see here, 3 seasons where he's got over 20 goal contributions. There's 2 other seasons where he's got 16 goal contributions, 12 goal contributions. Now, in the last 4 years, only one of those seasons he's had over 20. But as I say, if you get his mind right, there's a player there. And that's do I believe Rashford is someone who is completely gone, he's just not working, you can't get him to work hard. I don't know. I don't know what his mind is like. To be honest, from what I've seen in Man United, his body language doesn't seem there. But is it because of all those things that I said, about where his head is at? Is his head not in the right place? Is that pressure about being Man United, being a Man United fan from a young boy, coming in as a teenager and being that kind of assigned, to essentially be the next big thing as a Man United star, and then being part of a generation of Man United teams which have really underperformed. And because he's been the figurehead of that, he's people look at him as the kind of figurehead of underperformance. And has that pressure been too much for him? When we've seen when he's at his best and when he's firing at his best, he's an exceptional player and a player who's got unbelievable ability. And maybe being a Man United fan, that pressure is told, and he's been under relentless criticism from his own fans, let alone other fans in the Premier League,
and warranted criticism.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not warranted, but maybe that criticism has taken its toll on him, and that's where he is at this moment, where he's seeking a new challenge and he needs just new scenery, just needs a break from it all. Maybe that's it. Do I believe at 27 he's finished and he's not no use to anyone? I don't believe that. I think there's still a very good player there, and I think if you get him right, I think there's going to be a very lucky team who get a very good player, in my opinion.
Yeah, if he gets his head right, which is a big if at this moment in time. He's been too poor for too long, in my opinion. You're talking about forget his whole Man United career. You said it right there. One good season in his last 4 years, which is nowhere near good enough when you're looking at the ages that he's at as well. He should be coming into the prime of his career right now. Mm-hmm. He should be. And I don't think he's anywhere near those levels. And every time I watch him play, he's nothing short of embarrassing.
You won't get back to those levels. You've given up on him.
I wouldn't say I've given up on him in terms of getting back to the levels. It all depends where his next move is. If he goes out to Saudi, then what?
Well, then he's finished.
And where else can he go? Where else is he going to go? Because I don't think he's going to go anywhere else in the Premier League.
No.
I don't think he's going to go to PSG. Where else can he go?
Madrid have stacked, so they're not going to take him. Barca apparently have no interest. Atletico, he's not really an Atletico kind of player. I don't know where he goes. And anywhere he goes, he's either going to need United to subsidise the wages, which maybe at this point they'll be willing to do because they might be just desperate to get rid of him, or he's going to have to take a pay cut. One of the two. In
terms of Man U subsidising his wages, right, I guarantee you that won't be for Tottenham Hotspur as well. As much as we helped them out last season with Reguilon and we're just yeah, no fee, you can just have Reguilon to help you out for free for half a season. There's no chance Man United return that favour, is there? So in terms of Marcus Rashford, I just can't see where he goes.
But as well, in football, 6 months is a long time. I don't see him moving anywhere in January, to be honest. I think he's probably going to stay till the end of the season. But you never know in football. Things change all the time. How many times have we seen a player in this position and then 6 months later the whole situation's changed? And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a few months under Amorim. He trains his way back into the team. He starts hitting good form, and all of a sudden, he's thinking, why do I want to leave? I'm at my boyhood club, and actually the best place for me to stay is right here. And I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in that way as well.
Look, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But, just watching him play, I just wouldn't want to see him at Spurs unless it's just a short-term thing, just to help us out with numbers from now to the end of the season. And let's say we can cancel the Timo Werner loan in January and bring in Rashford. I do think that's a big upgrade in terms of quality. So I would be open to that, but a long-term transfer, I wouldn't.
If he comes in and smashes it, why wouldn't you be open to it?
Because I just think it would be he would revert back to type eventually. That's the thing. You're going to have the big outlay. But look, there's no point going round in circles and going on about it even more. But look, we'll see. I'm sure if he came in from now until January and he does smash it, my opinion would change. But this is my opinion before anything is to happen, and nothing is going to happen anyway, so there's probably no point even talking about it. But you're talking about head-to-head between Spurs and Man United. It's looking good at the moment. 4 games without a loss, 2 draws, 1 at the Tottenham Stadium, 1 at Old Trafford, and then 2 wins, 3-0 and 2-0. Obviously, the 3-0 at Old Trafford earlier this season where Bruno sending off did help the fact that Spurs going and really taking Man U to the sword. And maybe Bruno actually, on the back of that red card, might be chomping at the bit to prove a few people wrong in this game, because it was a bit of a soft red card, wasn't it?
It was, but we were, well on top before that, albeit it was only 1-0, I think, at the time. But, I think most people will agree that Spurs were much the better side before the red card, and I don't think it influenced the game too much, the fact that he got sent off.
I feel like Man U came out, though, in that second half a bit better, and then that red card kind of, the momentum just kind of shifted again.
He got sent off in the first half.
Oh, sorry, it did, yeah. Well, they did start the second half well, though, with 10 men.
I think, we scored right at the beginning of the second half, and then they had a bit of a spell. But, yeah, I think we deserved the win. We were much better than them. But that's irrelevant. They've got a new manager now. It's a different set of circumstances. Will Bruno... I don't think Bruno's going to look at this game specifically more than any other with a point to prove. I think he's the kind of guy, he has got good mentality where he wants to win every game, and he gets frustrated and disappointed when things don't go his way. And sometimes it goes into the avenue of being a bit of a cutting a frustrated figure, and he kind of acts like a spoiled child sometimes. But as well, that comes from a place of him just being always wanting more from the team, always wanting more from himself, always wanting to win games and to create chances, and he's that kind of player. So he's definitely going to be one who's, I think, been one also of. He's been quite good, I think, since Amorim's come in. I think he's been also one of their better players. He goes into that category, and I think he's going to be one definitely who's going to have a big influence on the game. I think Bruno, he's one of those players where if you stop him playing, I think he's kind of that linchpin in the team. He's the one where if he's not having a good game, quite often Man United don't have a good game, and he's kind of that glue in their team.
And also, he's a massive Sporting Lisbon fan, watches them week in, week out religiously, and he would have been a big fan of Ruben Amorim coming in, obviously the Portuguese connection as well, and he'll know exactly how they're playing. I think that's a big reason why Fernandes has kind of hit the ground. Obviously, he's a top player as well, but he knows exactly the system, he knows where he needs to be, and he's already got a connection with the manager.
Exactly. So no surprise that he's probably excited by the appointment. Albeit, where does he really fit in the system? Is it one of the front three? Is it a mid in the middle two? Is he, because you kind of call them the 2 number 10s, but is that the kind of player that Amorim wants? Look, I guess time will tell. Because I remember, it's a similar system to what Conte played. And he wouldn't really have fitted in that front three under Conte, really, I would say. But he also wouldn't have fitted in that. We didn't really play with a proper number 10. It was kind of like 2 wingers. I guess depends on how he sees the wing backs. If the wing backs are more wingers, then he could fit in the front three. If they're not, then I don't know where his natural place is.
Well, let's bring up the Man U injury news. Mason Mount injured, Mazraoui, I think he's a doubt coming into the game, and Luke Shaw, what is going on with Luke Shaw? Every time he comes back, he gets injured again.
Most injury-prone player in the Premier League.
Yeah, literally. But you look at that with the back three, Martinez, De Ligt, maybe Yoro, or maybe Maguire. It was Maguire last game. But Yoro has come in, obviously, got big injury when he first got there, and he's come back in, and I thought when he came on against Arsenal, he actually looked pretty good. Yeah,
look, he's an 18-year-old centre-back, but clearly one of the most sought-after centre-backs in the summer. Big clubs after him. Man United got the signature, and you've seen in the last few games why, because he looks big, strong, fast, and quite comfortable on the ball as well. I thought he was quite shaky against Forest, but I thought obviously we came on against Arsenal, he looked quite good. Whether he starts, United actually, apparently Amorim's been a big fan of Maguire. wants to offer him a new contract. He said in a back three, Maguire can do a really good job. So that'd be interesting to see.
That's always what you said.
I said that as well. I thought if we were linked to them under contract, I said in a back three, I think he could do a good job. But we'll see if he goes with Euro, gives him that experience. Does he go Maguire?
Who do you prefer for a Tottenham point of view, Maguire or Euro?
Probably, from a Tottenham point of view, probably Maguire, only because if he is going to play Ahmad at wing back and Maguire's pulling out wide, I think that could be something we could work with. If he's going to play Maguire in the middle, then he's so good in the air, Maguire. It's going to be difficult to deal with. Maybe in that sense, I would rather Euro. I don't know. He's got good options at centre-backs, doesn't he? Because he's been chopping and changing his team. It's hard to know what he's going to play because he's made so many changes since he's come in. He's trying to work out his best team. We've gone with that. I don't know. Does Anthony start? He's been saying Anthony might be an option at wing-back. To be honest, and maybe he starts a wing back and Ahmad in the front three. Did you go Dallo at right back with Ahmad there? I kind of feel like he's not going to want to move Ahmad because Ahmad had a great game against City, so I think he's going to want to keep him in that front three. I think Malacia will get some game time in this one just to build his fitness, and given that's a Carabao Cup game, it's a good opportunity to do that. But he's also going to want to play a strong team on top of that. He's not going to want to play a completely weakened team. So I do think the likes of Bruno and Ahmad play. Mainu came off the bench on the weekend and he'll probably start. So, yeah, Ugarte had a great game against City, didn't he? Is he going to carry him on, or is Casemiro coming in? It's really impossible to say what his lineup's going to be just because of his rotation.
It's an interesting one, Manuel Ugarte, isn't it? Because he's been pretty poor since coming into Manchester United in the summer, whether it be the system, the wrong managers, wrong whatever. But Ruben Amorim got the best out of him. He's made his name at Sporting Lisbon. So he knows exactly the system, and he knows exactly how to get the best out of Manuel Ugarte. And it's no surprise to me that Ugarte is having his best time at Manchester United now that Ruben Amorim has come in. So I got a feeling it will be Ugarte to play. I feel like he's going to be his go-to guy. Casemiro, will it be him? Will it be Mainu? I think it will probably be Ugarte and Mainu in the midfield, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he does give Ugarte a bit of a rest this week. So in this one, we've gone for Casemiro and Mainu in the middle with Ahmad and Malacia at wing backs. Could be Dallo at wing back with maybe Malacia in the forward line. But which way do you think he'll
Ahmad
go?
In the forward line?
Yeah, sorry, Ahmad in the forward line.
Well, I think he'll go Ahmad in the forward line. I think Dallo will come in at right back, and I think Malacia will get a go. I don't think he's going to want to move Ahmad. There's no reason to, really. I think he had a great game. He's want to keep in that position. Does he go Xerxes or Højlund? I'd much rather see Xerxes than Højlund. I'm not a massive fan of Xerxes, albeit he's done all right since Amorim's come in. But
scored those 2 goals against Everton.
Yeah, but I still think he's a lot easier to deal with than Højlund, to be honest. I think Højlund's a bit more of a handful than Xerxes. So I'd probably rather see Xerxes there up front from the start. It depends on where does Amorim see this as another opportunity to try players out and try formations, or is this a game to win? Because I feel like ever since he's come into Man United, each game he's chopped and changed just to try different things. Even the game against Everton, they won 4-0. Then the next game he changed it up because he wants to see different players.
Yeah, I was so frustrated there because you go into the Arsenal game on the back of a 4-0 win. I think it was the Arsenal game after Everton. And you're expecting to see the players that did so well, and then none of them started.
Yeah, but I understand that, and it's as a United fan, it'll probably be frustrating. But he's got similar to what Andrew was saying last season. He's got a whole squad to assess, doesn't he? And he has to see them play at some point. Especially he hasn't had a pre-season, right? So the only way you can see them play is in games, unfortunately. And yes, you need wins, and yes, he needs points, but as well, he needs to assess that squad. He's not going to do that just playing the same players every game, and he's not going to know who's the best fit for what position and who's how each player is in game. And unfortunately, because he's come mid-season, this is the hand he's been dealt. So the only way to do that is by dealing with it how he is, which is chopping and changing. So that's kind of how he sees it, I feel. And maybe it's not the best for short-term results, but it is going to be the best for the long-term planning of the squad, and that's where his head is at, I'm guessing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a lot of changes in midweek. But does he go into this game with the mentality of this is a game to win, not a game to try things out?
I think so, because it's a cup game, right? It's a big opportunity for Ruben Amorim to come in, hit the ground running, and win a trophy straight off the bat. So when you're looking at priorities over the next couple of weeks, they've got Bournemouth on Sunday, we've got Liverpool on Sunday, and this game has got to be the priority for probably both clubs.
For us, for sure, because we know the context of the situation we're in. And I think even if we lose to Liverpool on Sunday, you know, the league is so tight that could always be caught up quite quickly, even if we lose. As much as obviously you don't want to pull too far away, but teams are. If you look at who's the fixture list on the weekend, you know, all the teams in the middle are all just playing each other. There's so many teams in the mix that they're all going to be playing each other every week. So those points can always be caught up at any point in the season. But once you're out the cup, you're out. And we know that a trophy is so big for us. Any opportunity for a trophy has to be taken with the utmost importance, considering how long it's been since we won one. I think Ange understands that at this point. I do think we're going to go full strength. We're going to go all out to try and win this game, and we're going to give it our best shot. Unfortunately, given our injury situation, does mean that, you know, even if we're at our best, it could be very, very difficult to get over the line. I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes to penalties, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised, given from what I saw with Man United. I wouldn't be surprised if they're struggling to create too many chances just because their system's not fully integrated. But as well, I wouldn't be surprised if we're struggling to break them down as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to penalties. But, yeah, it'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, we will be an interesting game. And in terms of priorities, I mean, I don't buy into the fact that finishing below 6th or below 7th and winning a Carabao Cup is a good season. I don't. But if you're going to ask me, if you ask me right now, would I take a loss in the Liverpool game if that means 100% guaranteeing a win in this game, I would take it. But like you said, you know, you can lose against Liverpool and still go on a big run after that.
We've got Forest who are in 4th on the Thursday, so immediately you can make up those points.
Exactly. So we just, by hook or by crook, we just need to win tomorrow. We need to win. The fans need to do their part as well. Back the team throughout the 90 minutes. Make it a big atmosphere. And whoever's going to the game, just come back with no voice. Just come back with no voice, because the team are going to need us, particularly with the injury crisis. You know, Spurs looking a bit ropey in games at times, you know, in terms of energy levels. We just need to guide the team through the game. And I know I'll probably come on and say this here in the majority of big games, but it's a chance to get into a semi-final, people.
Yeah.
The semi-final. It's not like, you know, the round before last 16 where you're going into a quarter-final. A semi-final, double-legged tie for a place at a Wembley final in the Carabao Cup, probably, I think, late February or early March. So,
how much do you think Ange will be judged on this game? Like, do you don't think there's any chance like he's in danger of his job if he loses tomorrow?
Is he in danger of his job if he loses tomorrow? Maybe it depends on the manner of the loss. If we get absolutely battered, which I don't think we will, the questions will start to be asked again. But it depends. Like, if you ask the fans, I think maybe a few more fans will start to turn. But I think when you're looking at the club and if his job is in doubt, I don't think so, because there's still such a short amount of point gap between us and the top 5 and the top 4. And I think that's what he's ultimately going to be judged on by the club.
Agreed. But I also think if he wouldn't have won on Sunday and then loses tonight, I think it might have been a different story. I think that win,
but it was a massively convincing win. It was a convincing win. We blew them out the water. I know it was a very poor side, but the result is the result and the performance is the performance.
I'm just saying, if we hadn't have won, I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So, like, I think all that would have changed. That might have changed things. That win, in a weird way, has bought him that more time. It means that even if he loses on Thursday, I probably don't think the club are even considering anything too drastic.
I do feel like, as much as I've been saying, you know, gone by Christmas and all this kind of stuff, the more and more I think about it and the more noise you hear coming out of the press and the journalists and everything like that, I do feel like Spurs are just trying to approach this project in a different manner than we have done in past. And I do think they're giving him a lot more leeway and maybe buffer space than they have to previous managers.
And I think that's the right thing to do, and that's what we have to do if we're going to have some sort of stability at this football club. And I think that's the right direction. And as much as right now, and even at some points early in the season as well, where things haven't been good enough and we've lost stupid games and whatever, I think the best course of action right now is to just stick with Ange and stick with the project, and that seems as though the club are in that same direction. But as you say, the more the fans turn, the more pressure builds. Be interesting to see if that changes. And then obviously, if we do lose tomorrow, that's only going to increase, isn't it? That fan pressure, and obviously if we lose then again to Liverpool, all of a sudden that could be 2 losses in a row, and all of a sudden that pressure starts to build again. Obviously after a big win on Sunday, I'm not saying it all is good, but obviously I did just relieve the pressure a tiny bit from the fans, because I guess the point is it shows that, I think the fear was this team was so on its legs, and that we have so many injuries and we're in such bad form, and Ange is so stubborn, he's not going to change it. We're just going to go on this terrible run of form where we don't win any games, and even against a team like Southampton we might even fail to win. The fact that we won so convincingly, and won scoring loads of goals, showed that even in this period we still got that capability of playing that football that Ange wants, even if it's just in spurts, even if it's not for 90 minutes, we're still capable of bringing it out of us. So we even showed that in the first half against Chelsea as well, that we're capable of doing that, albeit we didn't see it out. So I think the fact that we've shown that, even in this tough period, shows, first of all, the players are still behind Ange, and it shows that there is still capabilities of us gaining points, even if it means probably that we're not going to, there's still going to be inconsistency, but it still shows that we still go into every game with the hope that we can bring that football out of us, and that it's not going to be no chance that we're going to see that football.
Yeah, and I think the key point there is, the players are clearly behind Ange with the way they're playing at the moment, because if they weren't behind Ange, there's no way we go and batter Southampton the way we did, as much as how poor Southampton were. There's no way they show those energy levels in the opening half an hour of that game and go 4-5-0 up in the first half. So I think the players are clearly behind Ange, and whatever, I've heavily criticised Ange, and I've said what I've said over the past month or so, and that doesn't take away the fact that I've been very frustrated with Ange Postecoglou in some of the decisions that he's made, and maybe the way he sets us up sometimes and everything like that. There's, I have been very, very critical of Ange, but the reality is the way the fans were against Southampton in clear support of Ange Postecoglou, because no matter what I feel about Ange and the tactics and the gripes that I've had, I'm still fully in support of him. I'm fully in support of him, and I will be fully in support of him until probably there is no reason to support him anymore. And I feel that there is reason to support him. If the players are behind him, there is no reason to want a manager out, because the players are clearly behind him. So the way the fans were in full support of Ange Postecoglou and showing the clear frustrations at the board, that is the way to go about this situation. And if that is the situation, and he does go and sack Ange Postecoglou, then that's even more reason to show more frustration for this board. And, there's a protest plan for Liverpool. It'll be interesting to see the turnout there. But look, Ange Postecoglou needs to be fully supported in that stadium on Thursday night as well, and as well as the players. So let's hope for a big atmosphere. Let's hope that we do go through. If it does go to penalties like you're predicting, do you think we've got a good chance of going through, like in terms of the penalty takers? I think we probably...
Penalty savers. Oh, God. We've seen Forster in a shootout before, and it was not pretty. Hopefully he's learnt from that, but that was... it's hard. You know what? It's very, very rare for a goalkeeper to come out of a penalty shootout with criticism. It's extremely rare. But that is the one shootout you can say where that was one of the worst attempts at saving penalties I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was horrendous. I've never seen such a keeper with such bad attempts at trying to save penalties.
Yeah.
Like, you usually think goalkeepers go into a shootout with nothing to lose. And he literally, that shootout was so bad, it convinced everyone that Forster was a terrible keeper.
Yeah.
Even though we're seeing now clearly that he's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, if it is going into penalties, are you looking for a substitution of the goalkeepers just before the penalty shootout?
I think just keep Forster. Hopefully you can just cover them enough of the goal with how big he is.
Oh, very frustrating. But look, what is your score prediction?
I am going to go for 2-2. I do think we'll go to penalties.
2-2.
2-2.
Are we going to win on pens?
We're going to win on pens. Home stadium, fans behind us. Sonny take the first pen. We're going to win. Because it goes straight to pens, no extra time.
Yeah, no extra time.
So I don't think we'll be taking him off if it goes to pens or anything.
I think we're going to edge it. I think we're going to edge it 2-1. I think it's going to be a really nervy encounter tomorrow night. It's going to be one of those nights at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Hopefully, we'll be all singing Free From Desire at the end of it, and we'll be going through to the semi-finals. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, we know the draw before, or...
No, the draw's after the game.
After the game.
Yeah, so let's hope our name is in the hat at the end of the game. But it is a massive, massive, massive game. Our biggest game of the season so far. And if we do win, our biggest game of the season so far will be the semi-final. So it hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that is our preview for the game against Manchester United.